Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. With the Caribbean-based players now in camp in the UAE, the full West Indies squad is set to have its first training session on Tuesday, ahead of the start of the defence of their ICC World T20 title. Those players who travelled from the Caribbean ended their 6-day quarantine on Monday and will be joined by their colleagues from the IPL in the sessions. The tournament starts on Sunday, October 17, while the West Indies will not be in action until the 23rd against England. However, they will have 2 warm-up matches, first against Pakistan on October 18 and then India on the 20th. Well, head coach Phil Simmons spoke at a press conference on Monday morning, Caribbean time. In a wide-ranging interview, Simmons said he wasn't concerned about the fitness of star all-rounder Andre Russell.
In constant contact between our medical and KKR's medical, and he's been batting in the nets, he's been running at a certain level, so he's close enough to fitness. There was a talk out, I don't know if it was just on social media, but he might have been up to play today as a batsman, but they've gone against that, and we'll see how he moves forward, but he's been progressing really well.
First of all, are you concerned about the form of some of your players, your vice captain more specifically, Nicholas Perron, who's been struggling for form right through the CPL and into the IPL, going into the tournament, which starts, as I said, in about 10 days. Of course, the West Indies start their defense on the 23rd. And while I'm asking that, can you divulge what role do you see Chris Gayle playing in this setup once the World Cup begins?
Well, the thing about it is that once we sit down and we look at things, it's a case where I'm not too worried about Nicholas. I think Nicholas has been batting well. I think in CPL he played well. There's a lot of pressure on him there. There's going to be more pressure here, but I think that he is working hard enough. He's doing all what he has to do. And sometimes it doesn't come off, but it will come off. So I'm not worried about him. Chris, we have specific roles that we've put on Chris, and we trust that he is going to be ready and informed and everything. Having had a short rest from the game and from the bubble, he's going to come back fresh and ready to do and produce what we asked him to do.
But can you give us an update on Obed McCoy and how he's doing? I mean, we know he's had some injury issues this year. What's the latest on him?
Obed's been good. Obed's been doing quite a bit of training in St. Vincent before leaving. And as I said, we've been here in the room for 6 days. So from tomorrow, we start back with the physical work, but also the bowling work.
Explain more in depth the decision to name Jason Holder among the reserves. Even in today's paper, a number of the legendary former West Indian players have been coming out and speaking about it. I think cricket fans will want to know, the rationale behind a decision like this.
Yeah, I think people would want to know, and again, it is a case where we thought for this squad, when we named the 15, the balance of the squad that we had, that he wasn't in that 15, So at the end of the day, we had to leave in one of the reserves. We have, Andre Russell, we have Fabian Allen, we have, so. For the balance of the squad, we thought that he would be one of the reserves for this.
So many crucial points being touched there by the head coach Phil Simmons. We're now joined by international cricket commentator and SportsMax analyst Fazeer Mohammed. Faz, welcome.
Good to be on the show once again, Mariah.
Always happy to have you. So we're starting with Andre Russell. Of course, head coach Phil Simmons saying there that, he's near to fitness despite the fact that he didn't play for KKR today.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, because I think there's no reason to doubt what Phil Simmons has to say. He knows what it's like to be in the environment of international cricket. He understands the media scrutiny. He may not like certain elements of it, but this comes with the territory. And depending on what he says, and maybe some of his explanations weren't entirely convincing, and he seemed to be glossing over a lot of the issues. but we'll know at the end of the day when it comes performance time. If, for example, Andrew Russell breaks down, if Chris Gayle hardly ever plays, if the West Indies are eliminated before the knockout phase, if Nicholas Pooran barely gets a run. So, again, we can all speculate, we can all ask the questions, but I suppose the selectors, everyone was probably would be waiting with a level of anticipation to be vindicated, while others will be looking to say, well, will the long knives really be pulled out if the West Indies do fail to deliver, at least with a strong showing, if not retaining the World T20 title? So ultimately, whatever Simmons says, whatever anybody says, it comes down to the team performing when that first match is on the 23rd.
And Faz, I hear what you're saying, but based on the different explanations that were given, it's only then we can tell how confident or, get an idea as to what will happen when we actually start to compete for the T20 World title. How confident are you after hearing from the man at the top?
Well, if the confidence was going to be based on what Phil Simmons says, it hasn't made a difference to me. Because, Mariah, the grey hair tells me that I've been in this thing a lot longer. And listening to media conferences like this, you almost don't listen. Because essentially, you know what you're going to get. You're not going to get anything that is tremendously in depth. I read a couple of weeks ago where Brian Davis, former Trinidad and Tobago and West Indies opening batsman and a real student of the game and a respected commentator on the game, he endorsed the fact that selectors should not have to explain their selections. They should have to explain inconsistencies in fitness and so on. But I disagree with Brian on that. I think that the days are long gone when we should just be expected to accept dictates from on high. And we still shouldn't accept these sort of watered down explanations. I think we're a mature society. We are mature enough people that even if we disagree, you could explain, you could give us the rationale that, look, we identified these players together with Jason Holder as our premier all-rounders, and because of these considerations, he didn't make it. We may not like it, some may not like it, but at least there is a rationale. So listening to a lot of these media conferences after so many years, you could almost cut and paste different eras, different times, different matches, and it's essentially the same thing.
The balance issue, Fazeer.
The head coach says picking Jason Holder in the 15 would have created a balance issue given players of similar skill set and perhaps superior back performances that he has at his disposal. Is that balance rationale? Is it sound, or is it the finding of a best explanation for a decision that really was not well thought out?
It would be a sound explanation if we were given more detail, because he mentioned Andrew Russell, he mentioned Fabian Allen. But it's more than that, George. It's about looking at the side in its entirety, the squad in its entirety, looking at inconsistencies with the selection policy, those who were required to meet fitness standards, those who opted not to make themselves available for the fitness test or whatever it was. There's so much about it. And the challenge, as you well know, George, and Lance in particular, these interviews now that they are conducted online, it's very difficult to have a follow-up question. Leighton Levy, our own Leighton Levy of SportsMax, asking pertinent questions, colleagues from Barbados asking pertinent questions. When you get an answer that is as anodyne as you get in the circumstances which you expect, you want to follow up. You want to pounce on a particular issue. You want to highlight it, but you're not given that opportunity. So it leaves you with an empty feeling at the end of the day, because asking one question, asking two questions, when you're looking for clarity, when you're looking for a clear rationale, and again, we don't always have to agree, but at least we can understand what the perspective is. What is Chris Gayle going to go there for? A mascot? Is he going to perform? Is he going there because the world wants him there? Well, so you need to get, I think, George, we are a mature enough society now where it's just not good enough to simply say, we want you to rally around the West Indies, we want you to send positive vibes, as the CWI president said just over a week ago. That is irrelevant. This thing about positive vibes, they are representative of us as West Indian people. And if people feel there are legitimate questions to be asked, they should be answered properly.
We seem to be expected as a region, Fazeer, to trust the performance of certain players or trust their ability to just turn it on the moment the World Cup starts. And I know you know which players that is being especially, that consideration is expected, is being asked of. Do you trust some of these players, all sick and lame, out of form, to turn it on the moment the T20 World Cup starts?
No, I don't, because we have the evidence of the World Cup of 2019, where the West Indies, after demolishing Pakistan with an array of fast bowlers, we suddenly shot to the top as far as attention and people getting all excited. And then that was it, as far as winning matches, until the final match against Afghanistan. I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen this time, but you can't just simply say, even though I would be the first to acknowledge that when it comes to the T20 format, we are, in my estimation, a tournament team, players who rise to the occasion. But again, that assumes that everyone else is just overawed by us and will just watch us perform brilliantly. Again, it doesn't work that way. And players will be worked out, they'll be assessing, they'll be analyzing the dangerous players, the players who are particularly strong with whatever shot, whose weaknesses in what area. All of that is part of the game. So I don't think it's automatic that those who would appear switched off now will automatically switch it on when the big occasion arrives. If it does, I'll be happy to be proved wrong. But I don't take that for granted.
Yeah, Faz, I'm trying to assess the West Indies' expectations in this tournament. Were this a Grand Slam tennis tournament coming up, where would the West Indies be seeded? What seeding would they have?
I think maybe fifth or sixth.
Fifth or sixth as the defending champions?
As defending champions, but we had an unseeded player win the US Open qualifier. So again, as you know very well, lads, when it comes to tournament play, when it comes to the knockout format, Bart at 17 was a qualifier and won Wimbledon, his very first major title at the age of 17.
Yes.
A qualifier. So it's about rising to the occasion, and we do have that track record. 2012, 2016, of players who didn't really seem to be getting it together, really getting it together when it came to the big event. And who knows, maybe for many of them, they recognize this is their swan song. This is their final opportunity to shove it down the throats of all the critics who don't like them and who is out to get them and all that sort of thing. So that in itself could be a motivating factor.
Yeah. Well, Faz, based on your expertise and knowledge, I'm hoping that they get it together when they need to get it together. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll connect again.
Faz, did you watch Wilder Fury on Saturday?
No, I didn't. You see, I'm the type, George, since Foreman Ali, since Foreman Fraser, since Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, I'm sort of stuck in that time up. I find it very difficult.
Bye, Faz. Thanks again.